Alright, another video. There's a lot of bad videos out here. I saw this tool time thing. I saw the title and I just said I know I'm going to hate this. So anyway, he starts off his video by basically saying, well, I made an asshole video about vegetarianism to an asshole because he's an asshole and that's why I act like an asshole. And it just sounded like a big cop-out. And then he's talking like, oh no, vegetarians can't be hostile and they can't be like the amazing atheist of vegetarianism, or they can't be the Sarahan of vegetarianism, or they can't be the tool time of vegetarianism, right? They can't ridicule and mock and insult and harass even the meat eaters, the carnivores, like you would mock the religious. No, they're not allowed to do that. Because somehow it's not as stupid as a religion. It's not as stupid as a religion to basically cannibalize other living things, other sentient creatures, to just basically ignore their capacity to be harmed to your own advantage. That somehow that's a defensible position. Oh, please, logically. No, I don't think so. So then his science gets really pitiful in here, so we'll play this. I'll play little bits of this. I won't play the whole damn thing.
Comes back to why should we care about morality at all? I don't think is entirely empty when somebody like William Lane Craig asks the question,
well, I think I went too far. Okay, I gotta go back here. This is where the good stuff is, I think.
Is it right to kill an animal for food versus is it right to treat an animal in the way in which they're treated in factory farms so that we can have mass meat production as part of the convenience and consumerism of our society? I think those are distinct issues that I was trying to address.
Well, whatever. They're not really that distinct. So that's you want to make separate arguments about the fact that there's some necessity for human beings to eat meat. No, there's no necessity. That's a biological fact, proven all over the world by billions of people. So that argument's moot. And that somehow would be excusable if people are living off the land or some other garbage. That still somehow it's justifiable. It's still an overt cannibalism. It's still, basically eating your relatives. And you're just saying because they're far enough away, they're not related enough anymore. They're basically autistic. And so you can eat autistics. That's what it comes down to, right? As long as they're not genetically human, you can eat them. That sounds like bullshit religion to me. I mean, why should there be any distinction about what a chromosome is? Is that what makes the man, his chromosomes? Bullshit.
The issue of whether or not it is right to kill and eat an animal. So when I brought up the point of life feeding on life, I never intended this to be any sort of moral principle. I take it to be a fact of life.
So what? Like I said, there's lots of facts of life. It doesn't mean we can't modify our behavior or change that fact of life into something else. We can change the rules all the fuck we want.
Producers excluded, so a plant does not feed on life. It absorbs nutrients from the ground and is powered by the sun. Human beings are not fortunate enough to be able to stick our feet in the ground and absorb some nutrients. And
look, there's lots of things eating microorganisms and other kinds of stuff that's non-sentient, so it's not just about plants. There is animal food out there that doesn't have any brain, okay? There's lots of, little, low jellyfish. I mean, there's lots of animals, okay? They aren't plants, they're animals, and they don't got a brain, so go ahead and eat them all you want.
Sunbathe and get fed. We have to consume. So the issue becomes, well, can't we consume plants because animals can suffer? And the one thing that I find interesting about this is that in my understanding of anthropology and biology, human evolution is that
it'd be nice if you told us what the source of your understanding is, because in my opinion your understanding is crap.
That in no small part we gained our brain capacity through eating meat.
Yeah, and the proof of that is what? Oh, that's right, it's absolutely non-existent. Our brains, because we do intellectualisms, okay, because we think about algebra, well, guess what? When a gorilla's thinking about sex, he's using more brain energy probably than you're using when you're thinking about algebra. I mean, there's no scientific evidence that any other primate, which are mostly vegetarians, is using any less energy than we are. Okay, because they're a little dumber. There's no evidence that a retard chasing a pink balloon, his brain is somehow using less energy, and so he needs less calories because his brain it's got less energy, is using less energy. I mean, that's just fallacy. There's no evidence that even a dog brain is using less energy than ours. They're using the energy differently. Different parts of their brain are using it, and depending on how the brain is structured. But there's no great new energy toll because it's a human brain. I mean, this is just such a bullshit. This is pseudoscience. This is not science.
The fact that we can have this conversation, the very fact that we can make a choice to eat meat or not, comes from the fact that we have a brain which evolved in no small part by eating meat. I find this...
Oh, yeah, right. So the chimpanzee pulling the termite out has the choice to go eat termites or go eat bananas. So when it goes and pulls the termite out on the little stick, you know, somehow that's because it's because all that termite food is what's made that brain possible. If he didn't eat termites, he couldn't figure out how to eat termites. Yeah, that's the convoluted logic here. Without the termites, he couldn't figure out how to eat termites. Oh, please.
An interesting and paradoxical state of affairs, and I'm skeptical of moralities which try and make moral principles based on abstractions rather than dealing with the state of the world. Because the question...
Oh, yeah, and the state of the world defined by you. Okay, fine. So your state of the world is that human beings wouldn't be intelligent if they didn't eat meat. That's somehow a given, a proven fact. It's been established because what? A bunch of you people, you whatevers, you know, egg brains have declared it to be the truth, right? And it's one of those truths that nobody can knock down with a simple argument. No, it's one we got to write that one in stone because we got to keep McDonald's in business with a lie, and that's all it is. It's a lie. Yeah, you know, look, our human history, the first tools they find are tools for cutting grass. That's right, seed-laden grass. Go research the evolution of wheat. That's what made the human race.
To me, always comes back to why should we care about morality at all? I don't think is entirely empty when somebody like William Lane Craig asks the question, well, if there's no God, if there's no afterlife, if there's no metaphysical system surrounding human life, then why not nihilism, why not relativism? I don't think those are entirely empty questions, but the question really defaults back to why should we even care about morality at all? And when we start from that...
Oh, this is just silly. So this is just another guy saying, don't worry about it. Even if the animals are suffering, so what? Because none of it matters. Because, you know, suffering isn't... Nobody can figure out that that's a value. Nobody can establish that as a value. So we can ignore all of that. And it doesn't matter. I mean, this is just crap. We don't need a moral dictate. It's a rational argument, okay? I mean, the value of your comfort against the comfort of all the little sentience that you abuse in your lifetime to acquire your comfort. And you're making this arrogant statement that somehow you're worth it. That somehow your accomplishment in life is so fucking magnificent that, yeah, you can justify what you take from them. And mostly you justify it just because you make this bogus argument that, well, nature's doing it. Nature's doing it. So, I mean, it's like if God does it, right? If God molests children, it's okay for us to molest children, right? If we belong to that religion, the Muslim ones or whatever. Yeah, if God can do it, we can do it.
Basis. And I think when we're honest with ourselves about why morality or even attempting to have moral statements to begin with is of significance to us, that open...
It's not, again, always, this is always such a game people play. They always try to structure any kind of argument made about oughts and try to turn it into a moral doctrine. It's not a doctrine. It's not dogma written in a book by a god. It's a rational argument people have put on the table, okay, that what you're basically doing if you're a carnivore, okay, is accepting an ignorant paradigm. You're accepting nature. You're going to the DNA and asking go ask the DNA. Well, guess what? That's dumber than asking Jesus. That's dumber than saying, what would Jesus do? To say, what would the DNA do? All right, because we know what the DNA would do. It would build a great white shark. That's what the fucking DNA would do. Moron. I mean, another thing, this whole human race thing, again, the whole reason why human beings started eating meat is because they were little wormy, cruddy, little shitty, crappy fucking dirt primates. They were like, you know, there's a kind of rat in Africa that lives underground. It's got no hair. It's a scurvy looking, horrible, gross, disgusting little thing. And probably the other rats are like, holy fucking shit, look at the indignity you've done to yourselves. I mean, stop this. You're disgusting. All right, we were like that of the primates. We were the dopey little squirvy little primates who went out into the grass and out into the fields and tried to get any kind of food they could. Steal some little dead zebra or something, anything they could eat because they couldn't make it. They were the loser race. And so, yeah, they became strong because of that, though. And yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. But that's our heritage. We're vulture primates. That's all we are. We became vultures.
Whole nother field of questions in which I think that many of our moral ideas become much more tenuous, and I think animal rights is one of those. This would require a video in and of itself, but in a nutshell, I think that the only reason we really care about these moral issues is because it's relevant to us as a species. Just so to say that we should abstract so that we have obligations to all life. I think that requires a metaphysics that just can't be really...
What a crock of shit. It requires the simple statement that I recognize that sentience is the core value. That is not that hard to do. If you look at anything that has value, a shiny car, a pretty diamond, you can't name a fucking thing on this earth. And the only reason why anything has any value on this fucking earth is because it can somehow please a human being. Because it can somehow get a human being out of hardship or prevent their harm or give them comfort. That's what everything has value for. That's what money buys, is comfort, you fucker. So this is just such bullshit. It doesn't require any kind of metaphysics to accept the simple fucking goddamn precept that it's about the goddamn suffering, you stupid fucking cunt. That is not a religion, okay? That's just an observed fact of our existence, and it's one your own testimony cannot deny. Your own behavior testifies to the fact that you don't like it when you're hurt. You don't fucking like it, and you'll pay money to avoid it, you fucker. So don't pretend that this is metaphysics or this is fucking goddamn dogma. It's a fucking rational argument that you do not produce enough value to justify your consumption of something else's welfare. Not that fucking complicated. The math is really, really fucking simple.
Cashed out, and bringing it to the surface would take some finessing and really going over these arguments, but I don't really see any specific reason why we have to give an animal full moral consideration.
No, we're not giving them full moral consideration. We're giving them full recognition of the fact that they feel, okay? Not that they're smart, but that they feel. I mean, by your equation, right, if it's all about being able to do algebra, then anybody who can't do fucking algebra, okay, we can make them a slave. We can brutalize them, and we can kill them horribly and feed them to the animals we're going to eat, right? So why don't we just do that to all the retarded humans? We'll treat them like shit, and then we'll feed them to our food. Would that make sense to you, fucker?
The difference between moral consideration, just giving it consideration, period, and putting it on the level of a human, because if we're honest with ourselves, I think morality is a human construct.
Yeah, exactly. So why do you keep using the word like it's a fucking construct that's real or anything? Morality is associated with dogma. We're not talking about morality, asshole. We're talking about values. We're talking about a simple definition of something that is productive and something that is destructive. Productive eliminates pain and suffering and provides comfort. Destructive creates pain and suffering, okay, and discomfort. There, not that complicated.
Which we evolved the moral sense in order to propagate the human species, not animal species.
Oh,
And
right.
if
So,
an
so, so,
anthropo
so values isn't anything we discover. We don't discover the truth that it's wrong to enslave other human beings because they are sentient and they have a dignity that needs caring for. No, it wasn't that we observed that and understood that and figured that part out. No, 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 no. It's just made up. We just completely made that shit up. Slaves suck, and we should reinstitute slavery because it's no harm, no foul, man. There's no morality here. We can do whatever the fuck we want, and it's no fucking problem.
from some other planet were to visit Earth, imagine what they would make of human domestication and farming of animals and agriculture. They would say, well, this is an interesting evolutionary strategy this species has.
Oh, please. So you're saying that some advanced race comes from another planet, right? Now, how did they evolve there? Did they evolve some other way besides consumption and reproduction? Was there some other way they got here? Okay, and did their intelligence have an evolution? How could they possibly come from a different circumstance? Explain to me how something could evolve from some other circumstance. Okay, besides a battle of competition, a cannibalistic, cutthroat battle with almost equals. Explain how they would have come from a universe where the other creatures don't feel. Explain that to me.
I don't think that they would always. Isn't it terrible how they cause all these animals to suffer? Let's assume for a moment that they didn't know that we were conscious, or something.
Well, right. So they acquired intelligence without consciousness. So, I mean, isn't this gets really tricky? Because isn't what our intelligence is really doing? Isn't it really just sitting there reacting to the sensations of feeling? And if we didn't have feelings, intelligence would have no motivator. It would have no constructive cause to do a motherfucking thing. All right? It really wouldn't. Because we don't live to survive. We live to get food because we're hungry. We live to get sex because we're horny. Okay? We do these things because we're motivated by a passion. And if the passion doesn't exist, the intelligence would have not one goddamn thing to fucking do.
Like that, or if they were just observing us from afar, they would say, what an interesting evolutionary adaptation this animal has. Putting it in moral terms is a strange abstraction of morality.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't think Tyrannosauruses, even if we could get them some glasses and stuff and make them look all intelligent, I don't think they would be as dumb as this. I mean, this is just an evolution of logic, okay, and understanding. We have become more capable of understanding that, yeah, well, this was wrong and that was wrong. Killing the Indians was wrong. Yeah, all we were basically doing is we come to North America and what did we fucking goddamn do? We basically slaughtered people that were only 40,000 years our relatives, our brother. All right? They were our literal brother 40,000 years ago. And we slaughtered them like they were fucking goddamn rutabagas.
Now, Gareth, you called my video, my arguments in my video facile, but I have to say that your comparison between eating meat and slavery to my video, I personally find incredibly facile in the sense that...
Oh, whatever. I find your whole demeanor impotent. Yeah, impotent.
When I talk about human beings eating meat in the past, you brought up the issue of factory farming and participating in this system of suffering, which I'm not for. I'm probably against factory farming for somewhat different reasons than you are, but I'm not like, yay, wanton meat eating, just go out and... No, I think that people should be as morally responsible as they can. They should inform themselves as much as they can, but at the same time, what I resent is people like the person I was making a video response to, or the people who blast you with the, the PETA people who said...
Oh, whatever. This is not an argument. This is not an argument defending the taking of another sentient creature's welfare, okay, for your comfort and aggrandizement. To take what they have merely because they're dumber than you. No other qualified justification. It's just might makes right. Period. There's nothing else here. This is the argument of a fucking goddamn rednecked moron.
Their booths at various things with pictures of factory farms, essentially trying to bully people and making no real distinction between the ethics of eating meat and the ethics involved in factory farming, because there is a distinction to be made.
Oh, and it's a kind of a silly distinction. Actually, it really is, and I don't see how it's exploitation, okay, and that's that's the nature of the slavery comparison. It's exploitation for convenience, not exploitation for necessity, and it's not exploitation that can be justified. Again, if you're going to rationally judge what is valuable on this stinking shithole, what is valuable is the welfare of sentient beings, and you saying that it's only humans that matter is just a fucking lie. It's just your ego talking. That has no rational, reasonable, there's nothing rational can make anything out of that. A few chromosomes have decided my fate. I mean, this is just bullshit.
Now, the reason that I find the comparison to slavery facile is, number one, unlike eating, which we must do, you can get off your lazy ass and work for yourself. And when you compare it to factory farming, the second...
Oh, whatever. I mean, that's just so silly. I mean, obviously slavery is hugely productive to the owners. All right? There's huge benefit to it. Just as it is a convenience to the meat eaters, especially when they have somebody else doing the raising and the slaughtering. But even if they do it themselves, it's still a taking, and the taking is the part that matters.
Point is that people say 200 years ago, factory farming as we know it didn't exist. I happen to have grown up near a dairy farm, near a few dairy farms actually, and one of them, maybe a couple miles from my house, there was one like a mile from my house, and maybe the edge of the cow field was about 300 feet from my house. So I know dairy farming quite well, and seeing how these animals are treated in small farms of herds of, maybe...
Yeah, and so, see how their nuts are cut off, and every other, do it the quick, easiest way. They're just fucking dumb animals, right? Dumb animals. It's not that they're insentient animals. No, they're just dumb.
Few dozen, and it's not that terrible. However, the farm that was a few thousand...
Yeah, well, go visit a pig farm, okay? I saw a few of those when I was a kid. Natural ones. And they weren't very natural.
Head of dairy cattle a couple miles away, and in places similar to that. One of the main problems in talking to someone who had worked at one of these large farms, one of the major problems is neglect. A lot of the problems with the cruelty and suffering that these animals endure has to do with consequences of scale.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, it has to do with and now it has to do with the consequences of breeding, okay? So now the animals are born broken. They can't even live in any kind of natural context because they're genetically been perverted and distorted and manipulated into a fucking goddamn meat rack, all right, or a milk maker. All right, and so they couldn't even if they escaped our captivity, they escaped our slavery. It doesn't matter because we have scarred them genetically. Well, I know this is going on forever, but let's
have a larger farm. The person that I worked with, who had worked at one of these larger farms, said that they would have a cow just like drop dead, and they would essentially just leave it there because there was just too many other cattle to deal with. So given that factory farming is a relatively new phenomenon, how is it that the vegans and the animal rights activists try to condemn, say, our ancient ancestors for meat eating? Not only do we evolve...
Oh, whatever. Condemn them? No, they just point out that they were ignorant. All right? Just as we point out that the slave owners were ignorant. Just as we can point out that all the tyrannies and abuses that have taken place in the past, the chauvinists were ignorant. We can point that out. This is just, man, your rhetoric is so fucking slimy. I mean, vegetarians aren't wasting their time looking backwards and, wagging their finger. No, they're looking right here in the present and wagging their finger. And they're looking at the future and saying, why would you impose your silly addiction on the future? Why would you create new slave masters?
Our bodies evolved around the concept of eating meat. And
again, you're going to keep saying that. Our bodies haven't been doing this meat eating thing all that fucking long. All right? Even when we were doing it 20,000 or 30,000 or even 40,000 years ago, it probably wasn't a very large percentage of our diet. And it probably was just select humans that were indulging in it. And yes, why wouldn't cannibals be more successful? Of course, if you can be a vulture tiger, you know, or a lion, maybe you can be even more successful. You know, if you can eat puke and dirt and shit. I mean, possums are hugely successful. Why? It's because they can eat fucking shit. They can eat anything. And so, yeah, we became successful because we basically were fighting with, you know, we were fighting with maggots, you know, for our food. And so that, but that's nothing to endorse and put on a pedestal and say, oh, that's who we are. That's the character of our body. Now, we know the character of our body. We can go to the zoo and visit the character of our body. And there's no evidence of any other truth being the truth, health-wise and every other wise.
in the modern world, even if you choose to eat a vegan diet, you must essentially make a proxy of a meat-eating diet in terms of chemicals. It's true that there's no reason to eat meat in the sense that we can come up with the same, biochemical substitutes to fill our bodies without eating meat. But as I said in the previous...
Well, you're basically trying to imply that there's some sort of problem. There's not a problem. People can be stranded on fucking desert islands with no fucking meat. All right? And they can learn how to survive. That's right. They can eat fruit like every other primate. Or something else. But I'm just saying, this is just a bullshit argument. There's nothing about our biology that demands it. Our biology is diverse. We can eat all kinds of diets. All right? And that's where it's a matter of choice. And it's a matter of preference. And it's a matter of what you have a taste for. And you acquire that taste through conditioning. All right? And we don't have to condition people to be assholes.
This video. This is largely a matter of convenience. There's a movement a lot of people have of like eating locally. I couldn't even imagine trying to eat local as even being possible in a place like New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, because the population density is too high and there aren't enough farms and there's not enough diversity of food. Where I happen to live, there is, you could grow.
Well, this is still such a bogus argument, okay? This is just completely irrelevant to the argument of vegetarianism. The fact is, on a tiny amount of energy, you can be supplied with a ton of very healthy grains to eat in a city. So yes, you can have lots and lots of food, and if you didn't waste the food feeding it to goddamn animals, 40 times the amount of food value, just wasted. You're just wasting it. You're putting it through an animal first, all right, and losing 400 times the value of the food for nothing.
Basic vegetables.
I mean, to satisfy nothing but an acquired taste. I mean, this is just so fucking silly. It's like having 2 bottles of vodka and saying, okay, let's drink the $500 a bottle vodka instead of the fucking $10 a bottle vodka. Idiots.
Most people in North America are probably familiar with carrots, tomatoes, lettuce, apples grow around here, various things like that. But you have to have the well-balanced diet, which...
This is a crock of shit, too. Where's the science for that, okay? Rats don't need a well-balanced diet because they do really good eating just sugar cane. They live longer and better. Less disease. If you just feed them sugar cane. So, in the same kind of studies, if we did them with humans, we would find the same kind of results. You'll do just fucking fine, all right, without your fucking goddamn hamburgers, all right? You will. Trust me, you will. Eat a couple of bugs a week and you'll be just fine.
Meat is a fast and dirty way of achieving most of your body's needs because that is the way in which we evolved.
This is just such a crock of shit. Most of the calories we don't even absorb in meats. There's nothing about our digestive system that is made for processing heavy, thick proteins. That's why you have to cook the food to get any value at all out of it. This is just such a crock of shit.
And in order to become, I've been around vegans. I know somewhat of what it's like for them to prepare their meals. It is a commitment not only of money, having to go to a specialty shop.
Oh, again, yeah, make it sound like it's just so fucking hard. Oh, I don't have any sausages in my spaghetti. Oh, bull fucking shit. It's not really complicated not to put sausages in your spaghetti. That's how fucking complicated it is to be a vegetarian. Oh, I didn't put sausages in it. Yeah, that's really, I'll have to go read a whole cookbook and figure out how to do it because I didn't put sausages in it. I mean, what the fuck is this shit? Oh, I poured milk on my cornflakes and it was so fucking complicated. Well, not milk, but soy milk. I poured soy milk on my, I don't even use milk anymore. I just eat cornflakes dry. But, you know, that's an acquired taste. But the point is, yeah, there's a million food choices out there. Potato chips and rice crinkles and, I mean, we got cupcakes. There's all kinds of food you can eat and it doesn't get complicated at all. I mean, yes, if people who get fanatical about it, all right, sure, because it's going to be a little harder shop because, yeah, they have to do the soy milk thing and all the other things, and some of the standard recipes of human indulgence won't work with those products. But it's just, you don't need the fucking nuclear power plant. You don't need no high technology to be able to make edible food. I mean, come on. It's just silly. A loaf of bread? I mean, it really isn't that hard to make one.
And buy more expensive vegan products, but also time commitment into going to these places, assuming they're available at all, and preparing their meals. It's not a simple matter of, okay,
yeah, it's not a simple matter of, you know, a jar of applesauce and you turn the lid and you open it and then you take a spoon and you eat it. Oh, no, it's not a simple matter of that.
Steak, here's a salad. Which are you going to choose to eat? Oh, you chose the steak. Well, you're an inhuman monster. Diet is...
Well, whatever. You want to call yourself an inhuman? No, you are a human monster, okay? Yeah, you're just being an asshole. That's all. You're addicted or you're stupid. That's the only two choices. You're addicted or you're stupid.
Not that simple.
And stupid
For
and
example,
addicted.
Studies of you know, obesity and heart disease in the inner city show that a lot of these people just go to places like McDonald's because it's easier to get to than the grocery store. Lots of people are poor. They live on the fringes. They take what they can get, even in...
Yeah, well, why don't we just say the truth, okay? They're undisciplined, so that's why their diet sucks. It's not because the McDonald's is shoving it down their throat. It's because if they went to the store, they'd still be buying the junk food. They wouldn't be buying goddamn, you know, whatever, green beans or something. And you know it. They'd be buying the crap.
Modern America, it's not as simple as just saying, well, eat this instead of this. They may lack the ability to get the foods necessary. They may lack the ability or the
yeah, it's really hard. I mean, you know, getting that rice and pasta and bread. Bread is so hard to get. You can't get bread anywhere.
Knowledge to cook the food, you know, the food preparation knowledge, dietary.
Yeah, you gotta pull the lever on the toaster. Holy shit, that's really complicated.
Knowledge. So taking those into consideration, at the very least, there is no reason whatsoever to be a smug vegan.
It's not about being smug, you fucker. It's about recognizing that we, as a human race, are failing dismally, okay? And just like with religion, it's not for some good reason, okay? It's for fucking goddamn retarded reasons, because assholes keep dragging us back and making rationalizations and excuses for our fucking bullshit, nonsense, idiotic notions, our aggrandizing bullshit that all you fuckers live on.
That's what I took this guy that I was making a response to as some just morally grandstanding asshole who's just here to, like, you know, chastise other people because how terrible they are.
Oh, what a fucking hypocrite. I mean, all the fucking videos you have made ridiculing and insulting people because of their faith in some fucking bullshit god, and here you are just defending the DNA with the same kind of pukeless, brainless fucking rhetoric.
they participate in animal cruelty. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Life is just not that simple.
Oh, life isn't that. It is that fucking goddamn simple. There's ouch and there's ooh. That's it, okay? That's what life is fucking goddamn made out of. There's good fucking feelings and there's bad fucking feelings. There's good fucking times and bad fucking times. It's not that fucking complicated. If you're imposing bad fucking times, then you fucking suck. And if you're doing it because you don't need to do it, but because you just want to do it, then fuck you.
And as I said, for most of human history, and even still in the modern age, life just isn't that simple when it comes
Oh, again, just keep making excuses. Well, the relationship between men and women just isn't that simple. No, we gotta beat the little fucking cunts now and then. You know, it's not a simple equation that it's wrong to beat the fucking shit out of the goddamn whore. No, that's not obvious. It's a complex question. Sometimes you gotta kick those stupid fucking bitches.
what people eat. You're talking about one of the most fundamental things in people's lives.
Oh, whatever. The fucking subject, too, is about the fact that it's just an acquired taste. It's a conditioned preference. If you don't condition somebody to need it, they won't need it. It's that fucking simple. But as long as people keep defending it, then the people will keep imposing it, and it'll keep being part of the pop culture. It's got to become not pop culture. People have to have an incentive not to get lost in it, okay? Not to be raised with it. But even raised in it, as I was, it wasn't that much work to step away from it. So this whole idea that these addicts are going to go through hell and it's going to be the worst, horrible, no, it isn't that fucking goddamn bad. I mean, you wean yourself off that shit fairly easy.
So Garrett, the last point that I wanted to address was this idea about suffering being, as I put it, an arbitrary goalpost. Now, given that you're a philosophy professor, and there's an old saying, you know, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you're looking at this from a very philosophical viewpoint, and probably think,
yeah, whatever. That's a mistake. Don't look at it from a philosophical viewpoint. Look at it from a phantasmagorical viewpoint where humans is super cool. And then you won't have a problem. Then you'll understand. It's all okay. It's not about the suffering. It's about the human indulgence.
in terms of technical jargon and that sort of stuff. So allow me to frame this in terms of philosophical, technical jargon, because I think that would more or less move us from seeming disagreement in which I come off as some sort of morally naive, nihilistic jackass to having a more nuanced point of view, in which basically my contention is that in regards to killing an animal to eat it, not to make it into a fur coat, which I find disgusting and stupid. You know, rich women don't need to kill a fox so that they can...
Yeah, well, poor people don't need to eat no fucking fox meat either. I mean, this is just such bullshit. It's no more than just an indulgence of ego and personal taste. And that, like I said, it certainly can be modified in the next generation. If we concede that the racist bigots of today can't be fixed, there'll be no excuse to make racist bigots in the future.
And look pretty or whatever. In regards to that, I do not think that suffering is a sufficient condition to deem the killing of an animal to eat it as morally wrong.
Yeah, so suffering's not the constituent of value. So there's some other constituent. The welfare of a sentient being is not the value in the universe, isn't the value on this stupid shithole planet. No, the value is this battery because it has electricity in it. So maybe it's just about how much electricity we have in us. So we'll just judge everything based on how much electricity is in it. Fuck you.
The suffering of an animal may be a necessary condition in giving it, as you put it, moral consideration. And that's why I think...
It's never necessary. It's a choice. And a choice we've got to defend. If the whole planet Earth ran on the squashing of one kitten per day, like the whole planet rotated and it went around the sun and it did all of its stuff, and it ate basically one kitten a day. It slowly squished a little kitten. And that's what made the whole world run. We'd still have to justify squishing that one kitten. We'd still have to justify the lottery. So let's make it one human. All right, so for the whole fucking world to keep spinning and the planets to keep revolving and the whole universe to keep functioning, okay, it needs to squish one human being. Slowly squish it till its little eyeballs pop out and everything, as it just screams in horror. That's the price. Now, and we're all in the lottery for that, to be the lucky victim. I mean, it's still a fucking equation, isn't it? It's still something you got to say, well, do I want to enter that 1 in 7 billion chance? 1 in 7 billion. It's a long chance of winning. Okay, it's not like I'm going to have to do it. Yeah, but it does raise the issue, doesn't it? It does have gravity. And so not recognizing the gravity of this circumstance we are in. Yeah, we didn't create the circumstance, but we can't just sit there and pretend the circumstance doesn't exist because we didn't create it. It's still a fucking shithole, and we've got to do everything we can to fix the shit. All right, and part of the shit is us indulging in the same practice as the ignorance, justifying the ignorance.
We probably already agree on this point, is because you don't even attempt to make some sort of argument that it's just flat wrong. You talk about consideration as opposed to, you know, moral dictates or moral duties. So I would say that the animal's capacity to suffer is a necessary.
Yeah, tell me where 5 cents. Okay, yeah, here's a penny. Penny? Yeah, penny. That's how much elephants dying is worth. That's how much it is. It's worth a penny. Yeah, no big deal. No one gives a fuck, right? This is only an elephant. It's not a human being. Human beings are worth $1 million and such. But an elephant's only worth a penny. Fuck you.
Condition in giving it moral consideration. However, I do not think that it is a sufficient condition to deem it morally wrong.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, I'm just saying. Then somebody else who doesn't seem it's an efficient consideration says, well, those Jews are obviously got horns. They're obviously, you know, the spawn of Satan. So why can't we throw them in concentration camps? I mean, why not? They're just fucking Jews, you asshole. I mean, you prove they're fucking legitimate. You prove it. Prove it. Prove they're just as good as me. Prove it, fucker.
I think that should, for you, make the distinction clear here. And talking about arbitrary goalposts is a rather stupid and unphilosophical.
Yeah, well, you're the one playing that game, okay? You're just ignoring the real game that's played on the field of sentience. And you're the one just saying, well, because it doesn't have the right number of chromosomes, we'll just turn it into a penny. That's all. Okay, but if it's a retarded human, no, let's build it a palace. Let's spend zillions of dollars sending it to school, even though it can't learn, because it's a human. Fuck you.
Philosophical way to put it. But my general point is, when I made this video, I did not intend to be a cheerleader for factory farming or the wanton cruelty or killing of animals or anything which is unnecessary for human survival.
Oh man, you really just keep saying it like it's a truth. Human survival. Necessary for human survival. I mean, that's just a complete and fucking, it's just a fat out fucking lie. There's no evidence that human survival depends on the consumption of meat. No evidence. Nothing. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Nothing to do with your goddamn survival, asshole.
I personally am disgusted by a large part of society. I think much of society goes to waste, and I think people should be as informed as much about it as possible, whether it be the effects.
Well, what's the point? You think you're self-informed, and you think that we wouldn't have a brain if we didn't fucking go eat some corpses out on the fucking prairie. I mean, come on.
The factory farming, or just how goddamn stupid celebrity magazines or at the checkouts of the grocery store. What a waste of human endeavor. Crappy television shows and crappy movies and useless products are. What a complete and utter waste. Most of our society is geared towards generating just nonsense and being completely wasteful and
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that waste is just amplified, or just it's a perfect example of part of that the meat industry would be so much part of that propaganda. It's just so much part of just plain propaganda, and all you have to do is change the propaganda. But the propaganda is not going to change if people keep making rationalizations for their behavior.
vapid. So I don't want to come off as somebody who's just indifferent to all of these different things, like the issues of factory farming or human waste or any of that. But my specific goal was to argue against the idea that killing and eating an animal is just flat wrong in the grand metaphysical scheme of things. I think
the grand metaphysical scheme of things. Again, so now you ridicule metaphysics in 1 minute, and now you're saying, now you're relying on it, like there's some grand metaphysical scheme, like we're part of some grand purposeful scheme. It's not the grand physical scheme of a DNA molecule, just basically blanketing planet Earth with little reproducing machines. No, it's a grand scheme.
We should take animal suffering into consideration, even if we're complete egoists. I mean, if you could flip a switch and kill all animals on Earth, you would be dooming yourself. So even under, say, something like egoism, just wanton killing of animals, you still have to take other things, everything else of which you are part of an interdependent.
Well, look, even all that's kind of crap, okay? Because the truth is, like anything else, we could replace those animals one at a time, and we could probably come up with something else, some other mechanism, some other hardware that performs the exact same function.
System on into consideration. But again, I don't find this a sufficient condition in order to condemn eating meat. And
yeah, right, because the Romans are doing it, you're going to do it, kind of thing. You're just making a rationalization. You're saying nature's a slave owner, so I'm going to own slaves. Nature's a wife beater, so I'm going to beat my wife. Nature's a child molester, so I'm going to molest my child. You're just making a grotesque cop out. You're just saying humans don't have to be responsible for anything that nature's doing worse than them. I mean, what a pile of shit. What's the fucking point of having a brain if we're not trying to be smarter than a DNA molecule?
I find the whole issue is far more nuanced and complicated, because just recapping for a second, so human beings evolved based on eating meat, and suddenly they get...
Again, well, so right there, this is like, what is that? That's, you might as well just say God says so. I mean, you haven't proven that as a truth. That might be some science, that might be something people are yammering about because they look at an artifact or something, but that's not exactly the theory of evolution. That one's not ready to write in the fucking book of truth, is it? Do you really have the evidence of that? All you have is speculation. That's quantum theory, string theory. That's string theory, fella. You can't use string theory as a defense for some sort of behavior. I mean, you really can't.
In the capacity to even consider the idea that eating meat is wrong. But that wasn't enough. We didn't know enough about biochemistry, how the body works. We had, our ancestors probably had cravings for meat. They probably were interested.
Oh yeah, right. They had cravings for meat. No, they had cravings for cooked meat. Okay, you smell it, you sweeten it. All right, it starts to smell like a fruit.
Of either hunter-gathering or having livestock, and had sympathy for animals. We see in ancient cultures, and they would have, say, sacrifices to the animal spirits to appease the animal spirits. So they would
they'd have sacrifices to Jehovah and all the rest of those other silly guys. Yeah, yes, they lived their life basically exploiting animals. So there's lots of slave tradition, lots of traditions involving their activity with their fucking exploited animals. Nothing, again, to build totem poles to. We don't need to sit there and use that as an excuse for current behavior. Because some tribe somewhere threw a virgin into a volcano, the human race doesn't have any need. It isn't still living in us. This is just such a bullshit excuse. Like, we really need to be assholes because somebody was an asshole once.
Back to be hunted again and saw themselves in a sort of sympathetic relationship with animals. I don't think human beings have ever been, just indifferent to the suffering of animals. But there's a difference between recognizing something's suffering and recognizing the need to eat it. And
yeah, what a crock of shit. Humans are fucking cruel as hell in all kinds of dog fight. I mean, we go down the list. This is just bullshit. Lots of insensitivity.
so, for most of human history, the sort of moral consideration isn't even the argument. Moral arguments don't even. Really,
What is this? An argument from history again? So now, because people did it in the past, we have to do it now. So most people in the past believed in God. So I guess we have to do it, right? Because that's the tradition. Yeah, it's a good old tradition. That's all you're talking. You're making it. You're fucking the argument from tradition. Come on.
hold that much weight until we've arrived at the present day, when we understand chemistry, biochemistry and nutrition enough to say there are non-meat substitutes for what our bodies need.
Yeah, that's even a silly way to say it. 99% of what our body needs doesn't need a substitute, okay? It's going to be found in a loaf of bread.
Capacity to provide these for people. You can get, in New York, you can get food, plants from California, which again requires an infrastructure and a whole other thing, which I talked about a bit in my previous video. You have the knowledge, the substitutes. You have
yeah, you don't need, like, again, there's no substitutes. It's just such a bullshit, okay? There's been lots of people that live a long time, okay? There's lots of South American Indians, corn, this has been around a long, long fucking time. They didn't eat any goddamn, most of them never had any meat.
A immoral system of factory farming, or a system that many people are morally opposed to. It is only now that these things become the sort of moral consideration that people are.
So that's be like the excuse back in the old slave days. Oh, it's only now that you people are bringing this up, you sillies. Okay, this was all working fine. Why don't you just shut up about this slavery thing? We can do this forever. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. There's no morality. Don't worry about it.
Given that you seem to accept this progression, this moral progression, that narrows the moral.
Accept the moral progression? Like, that's just a theory, right? The fact that we are morally progressing, that we are ethically progressing, that we are intelligence has progressed over the last 10 years, 10,000 years. I think it's sort of a given. I don't think you can unravel that.
Down from just killing and eating meat versus in the modern age, given the fact that you have these alternative choices, given that we know that you don't need to do this, given that the system is this, now you should think about making this choice as being more moral. I never intended to argue, just eat all the factory farm meat you want. That was never the intention of my video.
Yeah, yours was like, no, you can own house slaves, but don't own field slaves. That's sort of where you're cutting it now, right? You're saying, yeah, okay, I understand. Okay, field slaves, that's kind of messy. Let's not do that. But the house slaves, they kick ass. So, yeah, let's have house slaves. Yeah, thanks a lot.
I could keep going, but I'm just going to cut the video off here because I'm already losing my focus. But
yeah, and you buried yourself under such crap. I mean, 1 minute you say humans need it for survival, next minute it's because humans convenience. I mean, you just contradictions everywhere. All these arguments are all fallacy arguments. It's all these lies, basically. Oh, human beings need meat.
I hope that sort of clears the air a bit.
Yeah.
My video
cleared the air, but yeah, I mean, I knew where you were coming from before you made the video. I mean, you're one of these phantasmagorical human ego, way too big a human ego, pantheist kind of guys, right? You don't believe in the Jeebus religion, but you believe in the old Gaia DNA religion. That somehow the DNA is smarter than us and it has a secret plan and it's going to singularity or something. I mean, this is just such horseshit, and this whole idea that there's no fucking goddamn value in the universe. It only exists in human perception. No. I mean, this is just so fucking stupid. It's disgusting. It's not even stupid. It's disgusting. when people just minimize this. I mean, if I had another duplicate planet on the other side of the sun and it had exactly everything we have on this planet except no humans, are you just gonna you'd sit there and look at it and say, oh, isn't that super cool? You know, all those animals eating each other. Oh, it's spectacular carnage. Oh, come on. Or let's go back a few billion years, well, a few 100 million, and just have, you know, Tyrannosauruses as the king, you know, and look at that world. And let me see you clap and applaud and say, wow, isn't that great sport?